What's going on?
Woo!
Got my
Welcome to the
green.
fucking way too late show.
But it's
How's
okay, cause
everybody doing? I'm just finding out lessons on how to not do this cast right. Oh man. So it's a little later than I think we wanted to do this, but here we are, man. Here we are. I just fucked around with settings on something for like an hour plus, and got it all working, and then all of it stopped working. So we're here. We're still here. We're alive.
we're
We made
starting from scratch as it were.
As it were. Yeah, I had to do a bunch of shit and then undo a bunch of shit. But I am the Disillusionist, joined here by the Green Lantern. We are rocking out on the not so early but not so late show. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Lantern? You feeling all right tonight?
I'm feeling
Still
great.
alive after all that bullshit?
I've been patiently waiting to tell some scary fucking stories. And I think a Saturday night it's all right that things are a little late, and I gotta commend you on your ability to be so diligent about trying to get a bunch of shit working all at once, like the maestro. It's very frustrating to be a maestro of events, but once you get something flowing, it can really be nice.
Yeah, man. And it's because I want us to have the best production quality possible here, and so I was trying to get it to where we could watch some videos together maybe, and it's looking like that's probably not gonna happen, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes what you want to do.
I think once you figure out, the technical difficulties, we'll be able to start watching some videos together. Because it was working, but we have to tweak a few things to make it consistently work without shitting out.
If I weren't so horribly broke, I would have just bought that program that makes everything easier on the spot just to be done with it.
Yeah,
But I am horribly broke, so here we are.
Well, we'll figure it out. If we make a job out of this, it could turn into something nice. But then I have to, someone keeps mentioning to me that if we do make a job out of this, that I got to stop being the official Green Lantern, unless I get a hold of DC and I go, yo, DC, can y'all sponsor me? I'll be the official Green Lantern, and we can work something out in way of,
Who do you have to blow at DC Comics to get the rights to use
Look,
the Green Lantern mask, do you think?
I just want to save the world. If they want to take all my money, as long as I am changing the world for the better, you can have the Green Lantern's money. Whatever.
We'll give you Green Lantern's half of the profits.
Yeah, for real. Like, if that's what it takes so that they don't sue you directly. Because, I don't want this whole thing to be ruined just because I like dressing up like a fucking DC character. All respect goes to DC Comics. That's a fucking trademark.
Right, and worst case scenario, I think what we could do is we could, you could just put on like some kind of like, luchador mask or something, and you could make your own character.
Well, I also could be the green light ring, some dumb shit like that if it came down to it.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
But
I think there's enough difference in you could change your shirt a little bit and put some like little downward facing things on the ring. You could like
I'll put a yin yang right here.
Yeah, it'd be a totally different character, dude. It would be perfect.
I'll be the green chakra.
The green chakra. Yeah, perfect, man.
Green chakra.
The green light source.
Green light source. But anyways, this is a totally bullshit obscure topic because it hopefully it'll never be an issue unless, that just is a sign of us actually, the show gaining profits. But the profits would go towards good places. It wouldn't just go towards bullshit. It'd be funding better quality production, and production of houses for homeless people potentially if we got enough funding, things of that nature.
You know
You know.
what we should do? I think what I want to try and do, because I need a fucking drink, is what I need. After all that bullshit, how about I bring Noe on? Let's see if we can get him on, and you guys can start a little discussion. And what I'm gonna do is go pour a drink. How does that sound? Does that sound cool?
Yeah, that
Does that
sounds
sound
good.
like a good way to start? You guys can start off with some spooky stories tonight.
Yeah.
We can get the ball rolling, and have a little bit of fun. Let me see. Let me see if we can get Noe on the horn here, because that would be good. I think that would be nice. Let us add Mr. Noe to the conversation.
Mr. Noe.
Let's see if we can get him up in this biatch. There we go. He might not answer. He might not answer. If not, then you can just start telling a story, and I'll go pour a drink either way.
Yeah, well, I got a few of them, so don't
Sweet.
you worry about that.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Let's see here. No, maybe not. Let's try. Oh, god damn it. You still there? Lantern, you still with me?
That was
Hello?
weird, dude. It said you left.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Are we still in the same stream?
Yeah, no, we're definitely still on the same stream.
We're such noobs. We're such noobs. So, do we have any viewers right now?
Yeah, there's two people watching us, so that's good.
Sorry for these technical difficulties. We got actually a pretty nice show lined up. We're just trying to get some more feedback, some
Yeah,
more another perspective because Noe's a pretty cool guy to talk to as well.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have him on. I don't know if he's still up and rolling. Are you I can't see you here on the thing. Do you have it pulled up on Skype? Or you looking at your
Yeah.
text messages or something?
No, my video's up, dude.
Okay. For some reason I'm not seeing it here.
What about now?
I am. Let's see.
Oh, well, there we go. I think you did it. Well, now I can't see my screen.
Motherfucker!
What? Can you see me? Can you see me?
No, I can't. Here, just call me back real quick. Call me back.
All right.
All right. I love you guys. Everybody who's watching this, you're a hero. You're a trooper. You're the sexiest human being alive. You're just a beautiful part of existence.
Tucker, you need to align your motherfucking chakras, dude. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Tucker, you need to align your chakras. I think this is the major issue. Okay, to the two people that are watching this, I need some agreeance here if y'all hear me. Tucker, you need to align your chakras, dog, because I feel a lot of frustration and a lot of tension. I can smell it. I can smell it from over here. I'm in a different city, dog. I can smell that.
You can smell the frustration right on me. Yeah, dude. It's an annoying son of a bitch. This world, but I love it. I love all you guys.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell a story. Whether or not you get a hold of Noe, I'm telling my story.
Go ahead. Fire it up, man.
Well, so this was in Houston, maybe about 7 years ago, give or take. There's a place in Houston called the Water Wall. It's by the Galleria, and it's in the daytime there's water running. It's like an art installation, I guess you would say, or a memorial. I'm not sure which one you would say. Um, and yeah, when it's on, there's just waterfalls that are like facing each other in a circle, and you can walk into the center. It's really peaceful. It's a nice place to go. A lot of wedding pictures are taken there, things like that. But for some obscure reason, I was there with a lady friend of mine years back, and it's nighttime. I don't know. I think we were like walking around in the Galleria, and then we ended up getting to this point, but it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
And we get there and we sit down. And this is not the point of my like existence where I'm like looking for weird shit. This was just supposed to be a night where I was like on a date and I went,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, like the water wall, that should be cool. That might be slightly romantic." But it was just kind of dark and I mean, it wasn't really creepy at first, but we're sitting on this little metal bench a little bit, kind of a distance from the actual water wall, but it's not on, at night. They turn it off. So it's just silent, and there's a lot of trees. It's relatively dark, despite it being in the city. And I shit you not, man. There was like all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see some movement, and I look over, and there's a dude in a black robe. And I don't mean a black jacket or a black hoodie. I mean like head to toe robe. There's a dude in a black robe, like out of Harry Potter. Like I straight
Mm-hmm.
up thought I saw Voldemort for a motherfucking second. I thought I was looking at Voldemort out of the first Harry Potter movie. Because he literally had like a cowl, like a black hood, everything. And so I was so curious of this like situation. Instead of, being scared, I was like, that's out of the normal, and I like kind of ran to it. But from my point of view, so I'm sitting down, let's say, get this camera. All right. I'm sitting down here on this bench. The water wall is way over in this direction. Well, from my perspective, this gentleman is like, or whatever it was, is like about to be behind the water wall. So as I get up and walk towards it, it goes out of sight behind the water wall. So I like pretty much run up to it, and by the time I get there, it's like a well lit place behind the water wall. Everything's dark, but once you get to the other side, there was light, and there was like a van, and there was basically no real way to go except left or right, because it was a major street, and then it was a gated community that I actually later spent the night at years later. But I remember this spot well because I've been at this point in Houston multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So this girl and I, despite this girl being freaked the fuck out, I'm like, it's okay, stay behind me. And we kind of like follow this dude into the shadows, and then we get to the other side, and it's like a well lit place, and this robed person was nowhere in sight. Like it, from my perspective, and the time it took for me to get over there, it seemed kind of like this person vanished. I mean, you
Oh.
could you could say that there were a few places for them to hide, maybe a wall to hide behind. But really, it was like I was looking for them, and I just they weren't anywhere. And it was just it was very creepy, very quiet and still. And it was the first time I've ever seen someone at night wearing a robe, like a full hooded, kind of pointy robe,
Mm-hmm.
and
So
like
occultist kind of.
yeah, exactly, like disappear into the shadows, you
Right.
know.
Man,
Uh,
what? Are you continuing? Am I interrupting?
no, no, please go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it reminds me. There's actually this movie that came out yesterday called The Void, and I really, really want to fucking see it. It reminded me of that because there's these characters in the trailer that I've seen, and it looks like this just bizarre psychedelic, like almost '80s inspired fucking trip movie. And there's these guys in these robes, and I really, really like the 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 imagery they give off because they're wearing these white robes and they've got this like just little triangle cut out over their face. And the trailer, one of the things that I was hoping to show tonight is it looks just super fucking cool. There's got, I mean, there seems to be aliens, there seems to be demons, there seems to be all kinds of shit going on in this movie, and it looks pretty fantastic. Now, I would probably think it was great either way, man. I'm such a big lover of horror movies that I could see myself enjoying it, regardless of how trashy it was or whatnot. But yeah, it's that cloaked kind of figure, that cloaked kind of look is creepy, you know, especially
Yeah.
at night. Nighttime cloaks are that's a bad combination.
Yeah, I mean,
Or cloaks in the dark.
in retrospect, I mean, it makes for a great scary story, but at the same time, why the fuck did I walk after this person? Like, if they had still been there, what would be behind the water wall would have been a whole group of these like cowled cultists, like what?
You could have
It,
easily ended up giving birth to the Antichrist, bro. Like
yeah, or the
you would have
girl,
walked.
or the girl I was with would have, like
Yeah. What if that would happen? What if you were coming after him? You're like, stay behind me. You turn the corner and like the guy's not there, and you turn around, and your fucking girl is gone. just
oh
she
damn,
disappeared.
that's
That would
fucking creepy, dude.
right.
It's
That would
creepy as
be
hell.
that'd be fucked up. And then you turn back around from the girl, and there's just that fucking robe dude standing right in front of you. There, that's the ultimate creep.
Well, see, this is why we need funding to make a movie.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, no, I would love to make a horror movie. And that was actually, one of the ideas I was having earlier today about what we could end up doing on the Creepy Cast is like I was thinking it'd be rad to maybe start trying to write out a horror movie just on air, write lines and kind of come up with the ideas and spitball them and maybe show people what that process is like from a complete amateur perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to tell you this one series of stories, and this is totally off the cuff right now, but these are all real things. These are all real stories that correlate between different people about the same entity. To the point where when I described the entity to one of the people I had just met, he like got mad at me and was like, "Shut up!" Like, stop talking about it. Like very
Not
upset.
cool, bro.
Yeah,
Not cool.
exactly. He like basically told me this story about how his dad, this guy, um, I'm trying to think what to name him so that I don't use his real name. It doesn't matter. Anyways, this
Chocolate Thunder.
gentleman, Mr. Unknown Gentleman, Dr. Pepper, he he basically claimed that his dad was haunted by a Shinigami. Now, a Shinigami, they're depicted in anime as kind of like these aloof soul reapers in Bleach, and then they're also depicted as like these underworld creatures that like get people to kill themselves or die at a certain
Well,
time.
the
Also,
Shinigami is what's in Death Note, right? Those
yeah,
are the,
yeah.
the the death gods, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of anime, there's probably one of the more accurate interpretations of a Shinigami, but I could totally be wrong because in actually one thing there's a couple places that this is reminding me of that I want to mention to you, and you can look this up to you viewers as well. There's a suicide forest in Japan. I don't remember what it's called in Japanese. I'm sorry. I'm still learning Japanese as a quote
I know
unquote.
what you're talking about. Yeah, the Suicide Forest. Um, Aokigara.
Yeah,
Aoki.
Aokigahara.
Okay, so that's what. Yeah, I just pulled that up real quick.
And if we're murdering the Japanese language, I apologize, but we're trying to respect, its origins.
I phonetically sounded it out as Aoki as in Steve Aoki, the DJ or whatever, and then Gahara. Gahara. That's how it's
Aokigahara.
Aoki Gahara. I think it
Um,
means sea of trees apparently.
yeah, and basically it's so infamous that people go there to kill themselves. It's the Forest of Suicides, which is funny because in Dante's Inferno there is a layer of hell that is the Forest of Suicides. So it's interesting that like what was it? Dante Alighieri. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. When he wrote those series of poems that allegedly depicted hell, uh, he's saying that it just seems it's such a literal interpretation of these metaphors for like every bad person deserves this, right? But then it's ironic or it's sickly ironic, not in like a funny way, but in a really twisted way, that there really is a forest of suicides where like where people really go to hang themselves, and then they became a part of the forest, and it is like now legend in real life to the point where they think that angry spirits live in the forest, which some of these spirits are referred to as Shinigami, if I'm not mistaken, because the Shinigami are spirits that literally convince people to kill themselves so that they can take you into the underworld. Like, uh, it's interesting because they're described as being long. They have long, dark black hair, kind of like the girl in The Ring. And that is why you see them associated with these Japanese horror movies, Japanese death movies. Um, what's interesting about me telling all this is that I have a connection. I hope it's not a real one, but I have a uh, what I
I
guess
have a
I would.
picture of the Suicide Forest pulled up right now, by the way, for our audience. Went
Oh
ahead and pulled up
God,
an image of it,
I
just so we've got it on screen.
and if you want to, you could look up images of Shinigami. Look up like the long black haired girls or just so there is this image of a girl with long black hair that I guess is kind of emblazoned into my memory. And Silent Hill does portray it. I have to admit it is somewhere in the subconscious of mine, but what's interesting is that this person that stayed at my house for a while said that his dad was affected by this creature and that it would sit on his chest while he was sleeping and like hold him down and it made him act a certain way. And his dad was basically like a raging alcoholic and he had it affected his son. And then essentially his son believed that he passed that creature to him. And when I described it to him, because I had seen it in a nightmare that I had where like there was a very brief stint of time, a few days, where I was in jail, and it was like every time I fell asleep, I would have a dream that I was in the Silent Hill world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it was real, like everything was rust and everything was the jail cells, but I was in my jail cell, like my box, and there was just a girl standing at the foot of my bed with like her hair covering her face. And I'm explaining that to this guy, and he just got mad, like he was about to attack me. That's how mad he was. Like, no, shut up! Like, just stop, because it was like something out of a movie where like people think Freddy Krueger's real, and if you talk about him, he's gonna show up, and like, so you need to shut the fuck up. So that kind of happened to me, and then I really thought that I had helped him get rid of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not specifically a ghost, but also maybe I was trying to help him exorcise his ghost from his life just by convincing him that it could happen. But he was a very negative minded person to the point where he really just thought he had this. It seemed almost like it was real, like he had this dark energy attached to him. And he explained it as my dad had this ghost girl follow him, and then now it follows me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to like take it from him, but then all of a sudden, I'd have dreams of it and shit. So it was really weird. And then, I looked into Shinigami and it's all kind of correlated with the long black hair. And then you've got The Grudge and The Ring and Silent
Okay.
Hill.
Right. It's I wonder if the possibility of that is these archetypes of this kind of character built into your subconscious, and then
Yeah.
that it's explored while you're dreaming, because you're in your
Yeah.
kind of subconscious realm there. That might be a fun couple things to do. Maybe we could talk about that in a little bit. Scary dreams, because those can be the most bizarrely scary, and just like one of the things for me, I can say real quick, is that have you ever been dream? The most terrifying thing about a dream is when you're being chased, someone's coming after you,
Yeah.
and you run from them, and you get that running through pudding kind of. Just like you're in your head, you're hauling ass, like you're like I gotta go, but yeah, in your mind, you're running, and yes, super slow motion. Just please,
Yeah, dude, I hate that.
Jesus,
It's my least favorite part of dreaming.
dude.
There's,
There's
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say the one of the scariest things I've ever happened or had happened to me in a dream is that's happening. I'm feeling the pudding legs while I'm trying to run, and there is like this just it's to me I can't like describe what this thing that is chasing me looks like. It's like this amalgam of horror in my subconscious of just this black kind of like just form that's like amorphous and is constantly changing these horrible terrifying images, and I keep looking back to see where it's at, and I've got the fucking jelly legs, and it is just like creeping closer and closer. And like I woke up from the dream, and it's the moment or I'm going to look back, and as I'm looking back, its head is looking around at me. So it's like our peripheral vision is starting to connect at the same time, and like, oh god, I'm shuddering just thinking about it now, dude. That feeling of like, almost like I was about to connect with it. And
Yeah.
I woke up and it was just like, ah, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say, good thing you didn't, because like, what if you woke up and pulled that thing into your reality? Jesus fucking Christ,
what
man.
What if it is me now?
No, no. No. So I'm gonna pretend I didn't just do that. So there's another story I wanted to tell.
What if?
Without no.
What if you held the ring up and then fucking over Skype, like you just see this like entity start like stretching out of my face and shit, like actually you're exercising me over the internet. Maybe the most interesting stream we could ever do. That'd get us a lot of fucking followers.
Not clickbait. Demon exercise live on Skype.
Yeah. I have the good sense to, as I'm being exercised, I get on Facebook and update it like, hey guys, I'm being exercised live on the air.
Yeah, don't do that. So, this other story I wanted to tell, I'm gonna
let you feel this one live, because I am gonna go pour a drink. I'll be back in just a second. So
get
it
started.
All
right. Well, you lovely viewers, the two of you that are watching, I love you. Thanks for your support. I just wanted to tell this one story where, I haven't seen a lot of UFOs in my life. When I was younger, it's ironic. I didn't really believe in aliens. I kind of fell for this, like, oh, the universe is too vast for aliens to be real, which is totally dumb, because if you look at the Drake equation, you understand that mathematically speaking, there is enough inhabitable space in the universe for other life forms to exist. And maybe they haven't all destroyed themselves like we might if we're not careful. So maybe they already have enough technology to reach us and talk to us. But if we're too stupid, will they contact us? Anyways, going off topic. So this story is about one of the only actual UFOs I've seen. The only other UFOs I've seen were balls of light. This was an actual craft with lights on it. This is the only one that I personally have ever seen. Weird. Anyways, this craft was boomerang-shaped in nature. I was driving on 71 from Houston back to Austin. I was driving at probably about 11 p.m. and I'm listening to music pretty quietly. And I'm driving, and on the opposite side of 71, I see blinking lights in a cluster. And as I'm driving under them, I realize that they're moving against me. And I'm driving, and I'm probably going about 80 or 90 on 71 at night, hopefully no police are watching this. But for a split second as I look up, I did a double take, and I realized that the lights were in the shape of a boomerang. And that the lights on the outside were blinking, and then there was also a series of lights on the inside, less than there were on the outside. But it basically looked like a silent boomerang with blinking lights. They were all blinking in unison. And I guess it was about to land, because it was just gliding effortlessly towards what looked like could have been an air base. And to me, I think it's just one of those unknown stealth flyers, stealth bombers. Mm-hmm. They're just taking it for a ride for whatever fucking reason. But it just, what's interesting is some of the original UFO reports from way back when were never that they were flying saucers. The term flying saucer was coined way later. Because some people said they saw dish-shaped saucers, which stemmed from the Nazi flying vehicles, vessels that were created and by different means. But there are many reports of boomerang-shaped vehicles, triangle and boomerang shaped. Hold on one second. Let me plug some shiz in.
I've
There we go.
Yeah, well, that is kind of one of those classic UFO types, right? Is the boomerang?
Yeah.
We can actually, I'll pull up, because our production value ain't great, but I can still pull up a boomerang UFO.
Yeah. Sorry, I was checking my battery.
No problem, man. I can't judge you at all. I just show you how professional I am. I just left this stream entirely to go get a drink, so
It's cool. It gave me plenty of airtime to get right up in the camera and be like, oh yeah, I got some stuff.
You this old creepy
and shit. Hopefully I kept whoever's watching us right now interested.
Yeah. Well, it's what I will say is interesting. The boomerang, I think a lot of people connect to essentially the shape of like the stealth bombers, maybe, is what some people would say. That they're the most shaped like that kind of V pattern. But I doubt a stealth bomber has fucking lights on the bottom of it because it's a stealth bomber.
It may.
Right?
It may.
Right?
See, here's the thing. If it's a stealth bomber and it's hard to find on radar, then maybe it was landing. That's the only reason I said it was probably landing, is because why the fuck would an invisible craft that I would not have seen otherwise have blinking lights on it? We're talking about like, okay, let's look at this legitimately. I'm claiming I saw a UFO. I don't think it was an alien UFO. I don't think it was extraterrestrials that flew it. For a long time, I had to believe that every unidentified flying object had to be alien related. I will admit. But over the years, I've realized that if you back it up a little bit and you just look at history, you'll see that military technology has been trying to reach the capabilities of what we would consider UFO technology for a very long time. They've probably had this technology for a little bit. They probably know different means of flight other than just the thrusting propulsion that we know of. We just stick to what we know on a primitive level, and we don't really evolve outside of society because the military industrial complex has its grips on some of the better technology. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit off topic. So this stealth bomber, as I'm calling it, because that's probably what it was. It was a boomerang-shaped, all black from what it looked like, darkly colored vehicle with, I guess you would say white-gray, or super pale blue lights. I'm gonna say there were like white lights. And they were all blinking together relatively slowly as it was gliding. And I think the only reason they would have lights initiated is if it was close enough to the tree line to let the station or the base know, hey, we're landing. This is us. That might be like protocol. At the very last second, the stealth bomber needs to initiate or engage its lights to let the people know. Because you have the way that I'm not very schooled in this or very well versed, but the way that landing a plane works is you have someone in a watchtower and you have someone in the plane. And you go, yes, you're clear, the runway's clear, no one's in the runway, we see you, you're good, your trajectory's good. So that's why the lights would be a good indication. At the same time, though, even if it is a stealth bomber, it has some sort of tracking that's probably just connected directly to this watchtower. So why the lights? I still couldn't tell you for sure.
Right. Yeah, it is well, yeah, and that's the most goddamn logical explanation you could give for it. And I commend you for being able to see that, because it is it would be interesting to see a vehicle like that, and I wouldn't doubt that maybe there's some type of stealth vehicle that is also like dead ass quiet, that's like completely 100% quiet that we can't hear at all. Well, maybe uses some kind of newer propulsion method that isn't loud like a jet is.
I'm not gonna name the fellow because I don't want to. I'm not going to name the fellow because I don't want to put him on the spot. I didn't get really permission to have his name in the show. But I know a gentleman that used to work in NASA who basically told me who was the man that triggered me and my interest in UFOs and UFO technology, because the first videos I saw of UFOs I thought were fake, and the gentleman whose house I was staying in at the time looked over my shoulder and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was in mission control when they got those videos," and I was just like, "Wait, what?" And the video that I'm referring to is of the Columbia satellite. So the Columbia space shuttle, way back when, one of its earlier missions, was sent out and outside Earth's atmosphere, right on the outermost regions of Earth's magnetic sphere, and or gravitational pull. And they send out a space probe with a tether. I believe it was a diamond cord tether, so it's like impossible to break it. Mm-hmm. Well, in this video, at the time it was a live feed, and it was on one of the most expensive cameras in the world. It was on one of the most high-end cameras. It could pick up wavelengths that the human eye can't see. It could pick up infrared, and they were adjusting this camera on this tether that had just broken, and they're like, "NASA, this tether seems to be broken." And they're watching this from mission control, and they adjust the camera, and this tether is now a straight line floating out in space. And as they adjust the camera, these perfectly symmetrical circles start appearing in the background, all different sizes.
This, right?
Yeah, you can pull it up on YouTube. I can't see it, but I've seen it plenty of times.
Well, yeah, I think whenever we get the whole video sharing thing up, we'll that's definitely something we could take a look at.
Yeah,
back to it.
Because there's like there's lights on the edges, they're spinning on the outside, but the center seems to be staying still, and they're literally appearing and disappearing on screen. And this is infrared light that we're seeing, so this is a physical object teleporting away, essentially. And this is supposed to be a live feed from NASA. But when I first saw it, I was sitting in an office chair with no wheels. And I was in a little apartment, and I was just like, "This is bullshit." I was a little kid, and I was just like, "This is bullshit." And the dude walking behind me was like, "Oh no, I was there when that happened." And I went, "No, you weren't." And he like kind of doesn't say anything, and he comes back with all his paperwork from NASA, and like basically he shows me that he won an award for making the best pie in NASA. In mission control, he was like he was basically just I don't want to call him this because it's kind of disrespectful, but he was like a Joe Schmo. Like he wasn't a high-end official, and he wasn't a nobody. He was a guy that was working in mission control alongside all these other gentlemen, managing computer systems and like watching a live feed. And then
and I just to be fair too, I don't think that. I think being a Joe Schmo at NASA is still pretty solid.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Just a normal guy. Also, just to point out too, I know who you're talking about, and to back him up, this guy does work at NASA. That's not like hey, I'm gonna throw this tagline in. I know this guy from that claims to be from NASA. I know who he's talking about. Totally verified, 100% works for NASA. Or worked for NASA.
He worked for NASA, and he's this. Right. And I also, if anybody else figures out who I'm talking about, I have a lot of respect for this gentleman. He was a Vietnam vet, and he is a Vietnam vet. He's still alive, and as far as I know, and he's a really great guy. He's kind of soft-spoken, but once you get to know him, you can have some really good conversations with him. And he's what inspired me to keep searching, because he said that as soon as that started happening. He
was in mission control watching this happen.
Yeah, and as soon as this happened, this is a live feed, and a general came in and said basically shut it down. Everything's on a need-to-know basis. And yet, because the internet, which was an accident, was invented, an accident for the public to get its hands on, because it wasn't an accident for like, the scientists that created it at CERN. And it wasn't an accident for the military to want their hands on it to use it for military purposes. But when civilians... It was just supposed to
be a super sophisticated communications method.
Exactly.
That's kind of the idea behind it.
And then you have things like YouTube, which totally spin it into a different direction, which is like literally put the entire world into a different spin because of this other media.
It's allowed you and I to be streaming live right now from two different cities, just completely over the internet, given our computers. I mean, it's pretty astounding
Well,
what we're capable of.
exactly. And so this gentleman also was the one, since we were talking about stealth bombers, he was also the one that was telling me after, I watched this video and it shows all these, it just basically shows 10, 20, 30 flying saucers that have teleportation ability. If this infrared camera was accurate and wasn't all bullshit from a live stream, which seems kind of impossible, and a military general wouldn't show up and shut it all down if there wasn't some credibility to it. And so this wasn't ever supposed to get on YouTube, but of course it does, because the things from NASA have been leaked time and time again. A lot of it could be seen as bullshit, but at the same time, this gentleman was confirming that there's a building in the Johnson City Space Center, Building 8 it's referred to, and it's specifically designed to airbrush photos of the moon so that you do not see that there are buildings on the moon and certain other places in the solar system, like Gary McKinnon, who hacked NASA's database using default passwords before he was ejected, and they tried to extradite him into America for hacking NASA. He claimed that there were military bases on Mars, and that we have fleets of UFOs. And so it just seems incredulous. It seems
that's a huge statement, because especially, I mean, as far as we know, we're just getting the capability to travel to Mars. We're just getting the capability to make our way out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it has a lot to do with desensitization too. It's like, hey, maybe people will live at Mars one day, so that when they do start sending civilians there, it's like, oh yeah, all these military, we just got here too. It's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it really kind of goes to show you that we need to keep our eyes and our minds open as to what's really going on, in the secret space program, because NASA is more like a veil than it is like actually the final frontier, which it needs to be. I mean, we see it as this icon of hope, this bastion of hope of evolution for the human race. Oh, we're gonna meet aliens and go out into space. Well, okay. Why are we hiding and suppressing all this information if that's true? Then,
do you think, I've always wondered, for instance, this makes me think of, because it's all very speculative information, right? Like there's people saying they saw things, but there's no hard fucking evidence.
Well, there's a decent amount.
Well, hard enough to where it's inscrutable, I guess. It's just completely verified 100%. I mean, I guess maybe I haven't seen it, but what I was gonna get at is, how Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, he's got the poison pill documents that are like the end all be all. Like, here's all the crazy shit, and I'm not gonna release this because it ensures that I don't die.
Yeah.
If that isn't just bullshit, and if that isn't like a bluff, because I've always kept that open as an option, is that's Julian Assange's huge big fat bluff of it's just you open it up and it's just a bunch of fucking, it's all anal porn, just gig after gig of anal porn. But if that's not the case, what is in there? Because I would think that if there's somebody who's got access to information about aliens or awareness of aliens, any of that information, that someone would have had to have leaked it to WikiLeaks, right? I mean, that's almost I feel like that would have had to have happened in some way, shape, or form, at least some piece of evidence, and I feel like that's probably what would be tallied amongst the files on that poison pill. If there was some major technological advancements that we weren't aware of, that's probably what's on there. That's the end-all be-all.
I actually have something we could look at right now. I'm gonna have to look at it separately. I can't pull up a screen, not yet. But I actually have the whole Vault 7 little data chunk that was sent out to the public, that was released to the public. I have that. So
Right.
what I could do is I could scroll through it really fast and see if there's anything related to that. So far, I've just looked at like smart devices and the CIA's connection to hacking into smart devices and getting hackers to use apps to like basically put viruses into those apps that are supposed to be encrypted so that you can send secret messages to each other. But they have hackers that send viruses to those, like Wicker Messenger and I think WhatsApp. And yeah, Signal I don't think was mentioned in there yet, but I'm not entirely certain on that. Um, but it's better safe than sorry is basically what I'm saying.
Wasn't there, if I remember correctly, wasn't in the leaks of, I think it was in the DNC leaks, wasn't there some weird connection between, like, was it Travis Barker or, like, Tom DeLonge or something from Blink 182 who was, like, trying to contact somebody and there was some mention of, like, aliens in the
Oh
email?
yeah, dude! One
Like,
of the guys in Blink 182 was saying that evil aliens are like have already taken over the world, and that's why he couldn't do something. That's why he couldn't show up to a place, or I can't fucking remember. Yeah, dude, I remember what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember specifically what he said, but he basically was like, aliens are here. He's like, aliens aren't going to arrive. They're already here and they've taken over the world or some shit like that. You just
by the
go,
way, and just to, like, so to shout out to our buddy Justin in the chat again, who's here with us. We've got a few people watching. I'm assuming he's amongst the numbers. But he had posted in the chat, I've seen the dome and the entities that maintain it. So I asked him what they look like, and he said those scarabs shown in Egypt. There's a lot of work going on up there. So I assume the
oh
dome
shit.
is an assumption of like a dome Earth or a flat Earth kind of deal. But I just want to say, I will say that's a creepy. That's I like to hear shit like that because that's kind of
Yeah.
the nature of the show. That's so fucking creepy. Like the idea that we're in this like domed off planet and there's scarabs cruising around maintaining the bulb or something like that.
Were they okay? I don't know how soon Justin's gonna respond to this, but did they have the heads of insects? Were they insect headed, or were they just full on
Like
scarabs?
straight up scarabs.
Because okay, and before and whenever he answers, you can tell me. But I'm gonna go on with this. So I don't. I just before I start talking about this, I do not believe in flat Earth personally. I just have to say that, just to get that out there. But what I do believe in, which is very similar, is the hollow Earth theory, which is simply suggesting that we don't have the time or resources as individuals or civilians to go deeper into Earth and see if there are inner civilizations, inner structures, inner formations. And, in some of the locations where there are entrances, actually, all of the alleged entrances are heavily guarded, some by Tibetan monks, some by Egyptian military. So you have a lot of different walks of life, like guarding these different special spots. So one of them is in Mammoth Caves in Kentucky. And you can go in these giant cave systems, but people get lost. Katie's home.
Yeah, the dogs are going
People
off there.
people get lost. They find mummified remains. I think I was mentioning this in one of our last videos, and it's just interesting that they seal off some of these entrances, and they tell people not to go down certain parts of these caves. And these are still supposed to connect to the same cavernous systems all over the world that have alleged underground societies in them, where you have a lot of people claiming that military bases exist underground. There was a guy who had a bunch of assassination attempts on his life. His name was Philip Snyder, I believe. And right before he died, he like lost a few fingers, and he said that he was on these tunnel boring missions, like with the government, I don't know specifically what, because he kept coming back to these public speakings and saying that there were assassination attempts on his life after he kept claiming that Zeta Grays. He dug underground with a team of people, and people kept dying because they kept finding these underground bases that were pre-existing, and that these aliens attacked him every time he went underground.
Who is this?
His name, look him up. Philip Schneider, Schneider. I believe I wrote his name down in this big ass book too.
Project Camelot.
Well, yeah, they probably had him pulled into Project Camelot. I don't know how I feel about Stephen Greer personally, because I've heard a lot of different things about Stephen Greer, and he does seem on the outside his intentions seem good, where he's like, I want to reveal aliens to the world, and he claims to see them and film them. But at the same time, a lot of people are saying that he might be a disinformationist, I guess you would say. I don't know. It's tough to say. I support the concept of revealing any extraterrestrial force to the world if you know about it. If there's evidence, and it's real evidence, and you're not just trying to get someone to buy your book or pay for visits to your ranch or whatever, That's a real thing. Like, people pay for visits to ranches to see UFOs. Like, that's a real fucking thing.
UFO ranch.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting idea. No, I was looking it up real quick, and this is, apparently there's some mystery surrounding his death a bit. I am on a website called UFOdigest.com. So
yeah, you gotta be a little careful.
Justin in the chat said there are entities in Inner Earth too. I've seen them. What did you have a camera phone on you at the time? Or
okay. I've
talked. Is that too much for me to ask? I feel like I'm being a dick.
Yeah, no, you are, but at the same time, it's a realistic question. And like, you kind of have to be a dick to get the like, what stopped you from taking a picture? I'm just asking. If you saw them, I want to believe you, so I want to see them as well. I don't want to be abducted in the process, but I definitely want to meet some motherfucking overseers. If we're living in if this is like a Truman Show thing going on, and we're getting to the conclusion of it because we're starting to be aware of it or whatever, then it's like, well, okay, let's see it. If it's
honestly, that, and now that you bring up the Truman Show, also in the line of me being a dick, let me add into this. The reason, and I love flat Earth videos. I've watched a million of them. I watched so many of them because it's for good or bad, it's just really interesting to me. And one of the things that really it disconnects me from wanting to believe it so hard is that every fucking video has a clip from the Truman Show or has a clip from what is that, it's some I forget what TV show. It's like a show where they're like, everything you know about the there's so many clips from Hollywood that are in there that I'm like, look, can we leave those out? If we're going for a purely scientific, let's dig in deep to this. Why do we keep seeing Jim Carrey's face? Or clips from The Simpsons and shit. I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say, all I'm seeing is people trying to use movie references as proof that all the people making movies know about the flat Earth. If you have the money, it's kind of like Katie was saying earlier today in our earlier cast, where she was basically like, only the entertainment industry has the money to throw away to get people's attention about the unknown. The scientific community is failing in that regard because it's a bunch of stupid people that want to be entertained, not a bunch of smart people that want to learn. Right. Unfortunately, and I'm lumping everyone into the same category. If you are a like-minded individual that likes science and wants to learn, support that. Keep rolling with that. That's great. And we all enjoy entertainment. But if the only way we're going to be geared towards exploration is because James Cameron had enough money to go to the Mariana Trench, it's a good start. But at the same time, how much of it becomes, CG? How much of it becomes it just kind of gets lost in translation because it's from the entertainment industry as opposed to the actual scientific community. I kind of lost track to what I was saying, but I don't think these people have all seen the edge of the world and are like, I'm gonna hint at it in my movies, like
Right.
maybe, but at the same time, I don't think so because I know my grandmother has taken a cruise to Antarctica, and she came
Mm.
back and she told me about it, and there was no point where she was like, I saw the flat Earth, or I saw the edge of the world, or I saw a giant
Mm.
wall that we couldn't pass. And I've noticed
Dude,
that
maybe she's in on it. Maybe
maybe
Granny's she's
she's
in on it, dude.
she definitely seems like the kind of person that might be in on it, dude. I mean, I like I was saying in our last episode, I was
Grandma's a fucking untrustworthy motherfucker. She's
dude, she's COINTELPRO. Mima is COINTELPRO.
that sounds like a really awesome like a song for a punk band. Me Moscow and Tell Pro.
Mima is COINTELPRO. Well, okay. At the same time, I will say that we did just read like a story the other night that Dave Paulides, 100% confirmed Dave Paulides investigation. Where like this little 3-year-old that like grew up was like, yeah, robot grandma took me
Robot
into
clone grandma.
my robot cybernetic grandma clone took me into the woods and I pooped on some paper, or I tried
Yeah,
to,
sticky paper.
and they took test results because aliens made me like,
There
okay.
is part of me that hears that story, and all I think about it is like someone gave this poor little kid, some homeless guy gave a kid acid. That's what
Oh,
happened, and abandoned him in a bush. Just
oh, oh, that's terrible, dude. I'd
that's
much
the
rather it be evil aliens than
yeah.
than homeless acid.
I would prefer that it would be an evil alien creature than some just jackass homeless dude who like bumps into this kid and is like, "Eat this acid, you're laying in the bush."
Yo, eat these berries.
Yeah, eat these berries. Drip, drip, drip. There's nothing on them. It's just gonna be
um.
fun.
So okay, let's migrate a little bit further into this conversation. Did you have any scary stories you wanted to tell?
Well, so I was thinking I did have one to tell. Just on the I don't know why this was pinging through my head. I think we were talking about CGI and we're talking about space. Have you seen the new trailer for the Aliens movie?
The
Is it
Covenant?
Revelations or
Covenant.
Covenant? Is that
Yeah,
Covenant?
Alien
Okay.
Covenant.
It's one of those sci-fi. That's every like third movie or fourth movie in a sci-fi series of movies is always got to be Covenant, or it's got to be like some big epic sounding name. Um, but I really enjoyed the trailer until the last couple seconds
I
of
know.
it.
I
Like
think
I
I
was
know what you're talking about
I
too.
was so stoked about like Danny McBride. Like I thought like I'm glad to see the cast. The cast looks amazing. The ship looks everything looks amazing. And then like they show the alien like in like broad daylight banging its head against the window and shit, and it looks horrible. It's so bad. It's so bad. And
Yeah.
it this is I think this kind of falls in line with the discussion of like horror movies and shit. What I think was so effective about the original Alien movie was the fact that it was a real puppet that
Yep.
someone made, and they fucking painted it and they put slime on it, and it was really there. And there's this I think it's called the uncanny veil. That has to do with CGI. That when you see it, you just immediately know it's CGI, and
Yeah.
it rips you out of the situation immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
I feel like the original, like comparing, and this is just a trailer, so they might improve upon this before the release of the movie, but I would prefer a really darkly lit, poorly lit shot or a low light shot of a real puppet alien with fake slime dripping from it than that fucking fake shitty looking alien banging its head into the ship at the end of that trailer.
Yeah, dude. I would too, because I absolutely agree with you. I think that the day and age of the puppet is it's not dead because it is much more realistic than just CGing everything away. Like, oh, we need
Mm.
some big scary monster. Well, instead of spending all this money on getting these physical special effect props together and getting all these guys to rig an alien, let's just throw it into a computer. It used to cost a lot more to throw it all into a computer. Now it's so cheap that it's just like the preferable thing to do because everything that's filmed on location that costs a lot of money too. Where are they going to
Mm-hmm.
film? Where did they go to film? That probably costs a lot of money. Everything that they're doing costs a lot of money already, so they're gonna try to professionally cut corners as much as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think in recent history, I don't know, you may have a more current movie, but I think for me the most effective use of like physical props that really made the movie come to life was Pan's Labyrinth. Um, the makeup in that movie, the puppets that they use, or I guess just I guess it is all just makeup effects that they use in that movie. It's fucking incredible, and it's so good and so interesting and real looking that um, CGI would have ruined that movie. It would have taken all the magic out of that movie. Uh,
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it really would have. Like I said, yeah, like you were talking about, it's that veil. Like if people know it's CGI, because it until they figure out a way to make it look like it isn't, it's always going to ruin it because there's just something real about even though you know it's a puppet, it's in the movie. It's a physical object that's in there.
right.
So once because if you're smart enough to analyze the fact that something's been edited into a movie, it separates it despite knowing there's a puppet that was physically in there because it was already in there. And there's a person in that suit, so there's a humanoid moving this contraption around that has
Right.
goo dripping down from it. And the goo
Yeah.
dripping down is like getting stuck on the person's hand, and he's like, "Oh God!" And he's just like, "What is this?" And and it just
Uh-huh.
it becomes a part of the set, and you can't get it off of you. And so there's no that's not CG. That's real.
Uh-huh.
You feel that, like you see, because we have this empathy when we watch movies, and it's lost when we see CG.
No, totally, totally. Here, hold on one second. Recently. If you want to, yeah, if you want to jump in, that'd be cool. Katie just got home, so I was chatting with her real quick.
No
Um,
worries.
yeah, if you want, if sure, yeah, yeah, or just I'll add you. Shoot me a text, and I'll add you to the conversation. Um, Justin, and I think I know who Justin is now.
Oh, I
I think
totally know. I know who Justin is.
Um,
Hi, Justin.
hello, Justin. He said we could go see them tonight if we want to see real aliens. To which, uh, yeah, yes, is my answer to that. And I hope that we're not just gonna go see, like, we're not gonna drive to Home Depot and see like a bunch of
No,
Mexicans.
he doesn't mean that, but he might mean like a long ass drive somewhere. Like he's probably talking about doing like a fucking few hour drive somewhere. I'm not even
If we
kidding. Like
we
he
should
would.
all I think we should all get together and do that. I think that would be great. We could take a camcorder with us, and I mean, regardless of it, that would be a fun. I think it would be great. We could even play some back on the stream, and kind of watch it and take a look at our footage or whatever we find and talk about the experience.
It would be kind of fucked up to go on this drive with him, and he like literally drives us to the edge of the world, and he's just like, "Dude, look, put your hand on it." And you're like, "Oh God damn it,
Oh
no,
fuck!
no, I'm
Oh
not gonna put my
god!
hand on the wall." And he's like,
I
"No,
gotta
dude,
go.
it's real. See, look, put your hand on the dome." And you're like, "No,
He said
I'm
he
getting up."
said Arizona, which do okay. So yes and yes. If
Yeah,
we can all get together,
for
I
sure.
don't know about tonight. I mean, if we can do it tonight, if that's like the only way we can do it, I'm down. But if we can like do this like tomorrow night and all go together, like that sounds fucking awesome. I would totally be down to document that and bring it back and have a little a discussion about it when we get back, or even we could do it. Maybe come out to Austin and we can sit down and that way we can all we're all in one space, and we could do a little recording and podcast on it.
Dude, that would be so interesting.
Yeah,
Um, you
hell
know,
yeah.
and you know what's funny about Justin mentioning this is when I was a lot younger, I've always been fascinated by Egyptian mythos, and I was at the Museum of Natural History, I believe, or there's like a children's museum section or something like that. There was some there was some Egyptian mythos like kind of sprawled about everywhere, and the wallpaper had these different archetypes of different deities. They were called neiters, not deities. Initially they were called neiters, and they all had different faces kind of representing the different function or archetype. And yeah, one of them doesn't even have a head, he just has a scarab where a head should be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that he's saying this same thing based off of something else, like,
Yeah,
oh, the
scarabs and
scarab headed overseers of the reality. And interestingly enough, like, you look at some creation myths and they're kind of they fuel the interest that people have in this belief. So like, I met a very like I have these jail stories. So that small week's worth of time I was in jail, there was this dude that people called Dr. House. and
That's awesome.
and he
I'm already
was
sold.
he was so excited to tell me about this dude that was trying to disprove creationism and ended up proving certain stories in the Bible true. And I mean, we're in this facility where I can't just bust out a laptop and be like, well, let's see how bullshit that is.
Right.
But at the same
Also,
time,
most credible source in the world, guys you meet in jail.
yeah, can't go wrong there, right?
Yeah.
So basically, he's talking about this story that like later makes some weird kind of sense to me, where like NASA confirms this crystalline firmament, like something about like this crystalline firmament that's in these old creation myths, where they're like, first there was waters above and waters below, and they're divided by the firmament. God made the firmament, divides the heaven and the earth, and it's like once this firmament broke, it caused a flood or a deluge. All this crazy shit started happening, and so I didn't believe most of it, but what I did find interesting was that our buddy, an old buddy of ours, Miles, his father worked in NASA as well, and they were basically saying that they figured out how to synthesize a crystalline structure by harnessing a pocket behind a shuttle in space. So they create a kind of backdraft effect in space, and it creates this vacuum-like effect, and you can grow crystalline structures that have like 100% energy output, energy efficiency, which is a technological advancement for the human race.
By the way, once again, to give you the lowdown, yeah, I mean that's it seems odd for someone to sit here and be like, I know multiple people who work or have worked at NASA, but you realize we did grow up in Houston, Texas, so we're right next to NASA and all of that. So the likelihood of meeting someone and talking to somebody who worked at NASA is actually it's much higher in Houston than it is almost anywhere else in the country. So
Yeah,
you'll know a lot of people whose parents worked at NASA and shit like that.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I didn't even read it. I didn't read into it very much until much later. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's location, location, location. Because it's not like I was looking around for people that worked in NASA and wanted to talk to them. I just happened to stumble upon them just by being alive, just by living in certain parts of Houston, having certain friends. You know. But I think it's important to point out that what I noticed this pattern where every time there seems to be a little more to the story, specifically with the space program. Every time there seems to be more to the story, why is it so covered up? Why would someone that used to work at NASA claim that there's a whole building dedicated to photoshopping pictures of the moon? like just the moon, just
Yeah.
one whole building, building a
Mm,
Johnson City Space Center, is
mm,
actually nowadays is pretty infamous for being that place. Where it was also one of these buildings was referred to in this movie called the Andromeda Strain that he mentions, where they have to
mm,
have like an ultra anti-contaminant room that's like a room within a room within a room, and it's these different security clearances and
mm.
decontamination processes to get in, because they claim they allegedly have real parts of alien bodies in there. But
Right.
I mean, I can never go in there, so I won't fucking know. But
It is. It's like. And so, by and I want to make it clear to everyone for the most part. I am a huge skeptic, and I'm skeptical of damn near everything I hear. You could be eating a lollipop and be like, "This is grape flavored," and I'd be like, "Fucking let me taste it. I don't believe you. Let me taste the grape." But so I know that I can come off as kind of a jackass in some of these conversations, but I am super fucking interested. That doesn't discount my interest. Lantern knows when we were growing up that I was huge into ghosts. I was huge into all kinds of paranormal shit. My skepticism is kind of like it's my reality check for myself. It's something I constantly put myself through just in order to be like, where are we? Where's what reality do we live in? It keeps me grounded. But I do want to say, I am incredibly interested, and so when I say things like when I hear that someone from NASA said something weird, or said something that might seem outlandish, the skeptic in me immediately is like, well, just because he worked at NASA doesn't mean he's not prone to like bullshitting or not prone to like,
yeah,
those two things can exist inside somebody. Like I had a prestigious job in the field, and at the same time, I'm lying to you right now. That
yeah.
can happen. Um, so that's what I would bring up, but I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to come off as too much of an asshole when I say something like that. I just want to put it through like the checks and balances process of my mind.
Well, I think that's a wise thing to do because it's kind of like left brain, right brain kind of thing.
Mm,
At the same time, there is a documentary. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, or if it is, it's hidden away in the archives. The name of this documentary is called Mirage Men. And
oh,
to the viewers out there, just check it out. It's amazing, because people that are fond of looking into these alien reports of UFO sightings will love it. But at the same time, you kind of get a little bit of a kick in the nuts, a metaphorical kick in the nuts from watching it, because the whole time they're taking some of the most well-known or credible ufologists, or whatever you'd like to call them, UFO reporters, that
mm,
are trying to figure out the truth behind the alien agenda and the truth behind if there are aliens at all. And it turns out that this entire time there was a gentleman who was hired by the government to just go around and seed misinformation into the actual findings of these reporters. So they're finding real information out, and they're
mm.
being told legitimate events in history, and they're being fed this information about the military, and then randomly they're being fed lines about Galactic Federation this, or this race of beings is doing this, when in actuality it's more like an Occam's razor effect, where you look at the amount of stealth flight that is going on unbeknownst to the public, and it probably has something to do with the amount of UFOs that are reported all the time. I don't think that it's
Also,
always going to be a direct correlation.
Also, I would say another thing, like one of those things that plays into the UFO abduction thing is that typically a lot of times people are abducted at night, and there are cases where that's not the truth, but there are a lot of people who get abducted while they're sleeping, or at night, or maybe they're in their truck and they're driving and it's super late at night. And I think that some of that could be explained by paralysis, sleep paralysis. I think that if you pass out in your truck, even for a moment, you could have this wild like, dream of abduction and then wake up a second later and be like, holy fuck. Or you could pass out and almost crash your car and then wake up in your car is in a different place because you drove it there while asleep and had this crazy fucking dream. So I do want to. I keep those kind of checks in place. I think Katie was interested in joining in on the conversation, and maybe we could do hop into the lights out section or something.
Nice. Yeah, there was something I wanted to mention. But if you want to pull Katie in first, go ahead, because she's more than welcome to be in on this part of the conversation.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, go ahead. I am gonna. I'll bring her in here real quick.
Cool.
And have her join us on the combo, and we can keep things going.
Okay, so.
Oh shit! I accidentally answered just phone. Hold on.
It's cool. Just tap the video sign.
I am.
Welcome.
Oh,
Welcome,
sorry, I've got
Katie.
my camera covered.
Hello, Katie.
So Katie joined us this morning on the more serious chat, and she's coming back in here tonight to do the spooky chat with us. We'll probably do the lights out section soon. So the rules, Katie, since you're new here,
I want to turn all the lights off. This office scary.
You have to turn all the lights off. You can leave the TV on. You can leave your laptop monitor. Will give you some light in the room.
I have to go get my flashlight.
I've got the whole room behind me. If I were up against a wall or in a corner, then maybe.
There's people. There's ghost people standing behind you, so it doesn't matter.
The whole time. That's the best part. No, it's the best part of the segment is that we're all, because I get creeped out too when we're telling spooky
stories. That's the point. We're telling scary fucking stories.
And
y'all
it keeps
can't
the
make
hair
me turn the lights out though.
I can. Don't make me.
If you refuse to turn the lights out, you can't be on video. I will.
Well, I'm gonna go get my flashlight. I'm gonna go get my flashlight until Katie turns her light off.
Yeah. What's that?
Eat my soy yogurt first.
You can eat soy yogurt if you want. We're just broadcasting this live.
Eat yogurt. It's cool. Everybody likes dairy-free tropical pineapple.
But I will lay down the law for the lights out spooky segment. If you're not gonna have the lights out on your camera, you're gonna ruin the aesthetic. And we have to. It's the coolest part of the lights out segment is that we're all in the dark. Noe was scared too. Noe was freaking out. He didn't want to be in the dark when we were doing it, but he troopered out, man. He turned out. He was in the darkest portion of the house when he was doing it. So
that's scary. I might have to move my computer setup and my cables over so I can be with my back to the wall, because otherwise I don't think I can do it.
That's fine. I'm saying though, it would be great for the stream if you had the lights on. Because your backdrop is the creepiest. It's the creepiest one.
Mine?
Turn your light off, both of y'all. Look how creepy my beard is in the light. Look, you can see straight through it.
It's so bloody creepy in here if I'm sitting up against the wall, but no.
If that's what you need to do, but those are the rules. Either if you're on camera, the lights are out. If you're not gonna turn the lights out, you can't be on camera, which is it's a bummer, but I'll allow it.
It would whatever. If you don't want to have the lights off, you can.
I'm gonna lay down the law too, real quick though. I'm gonna eat my yogurt and then I'm gonna turn the lights out.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Compromise. That's how.
I'll make that compromise.
That's how diplomacy works, y'all. Anyways.
You had
so let me.
You wanted to make before we went totally dark and the lights out.
Okay. Well, this guy named Travis Walton, he got a lot of spotlight for this. There's a book called Fire in the Sky. You can look this up. Where this gentleman, it's a true story. He was in a logging company, and he was in the redwoods, and only loggers are allowed to be in certain parts of the redwoods. And he and two other gentlemen were driving in a truck, his truck, if I'm not mistaken. He was driving, And this is what reminded me about you saying, "Oh, a guy fell asleep at the wheel, may have thought he got abducted, whatever." Well, this happened.
I mentioned that because I actually, so by the way, I've read Fire in the Sky and I've seen the movie Fire in the Sky as well.
And it's
So
fucking
I'm
terrifying.
acquainted. Oh yeah,
It's
the
terrifying.
scene in that movie, the abduction scene, is like one of the creepiest ever made in history.
Because
It's super creepy.
it basically makes you think that if that were true, aliens don't give a fuck about us, or at least not those kinds of aliens, not the ones that had Travis Walton. And the reason I say this so confidently is because there were official police reports of him being missing for about 5 days, to the point where his friends were about to be charged with murder or potential murder because they couldn't find the body anywhere. They couldn't find him anywhere for days. Like, they had search dogs out, they had police out, and it's a forest, so obviously redwood forest, not the easiest place to find him. But they did find him naked in a phone booth because he called someone, and they went to the phone booth, and he's like naked and covered in bruises, and he's like having a mental breakdown. And it basically took him calming down for like a certain amount of time until he had to try to remember what happened to him. And he claims that he was abducted. And the only reason it seems real, because he said a lot of outrageous shit. I mean, compared to what you would see as on a day-to-day basis and be like, okay, this is reality. He kind of says that this whole other like line of reality happened to him, and it's hard to say it's real aside from the fact that his friends almost got charged with murder because he went missing.
Right, right. Yeah, it is one of those weird cases in history where there's kind of like this ongoing investigation and sort of currently, at least in that time period, unsolved mystery, and then all of the sudden, the guy who is being searched for, the guy who's supposed to be dead or whatever, turns up, and then he has this fucking outlandish, super crazy story about where he's actually been.
Yeah.
And it's not the exclusive story. There are some other stories of people that say that they were abducted, and there's actually verifiable evidence that they did go missing, and people were looking for them, and then they just kind of turned up, and they were like, "Yeah, I got picked up by a ship," and someone fucking did some old creepy shit to me. So yeah, no, it's Fire in the Sky. If you haven't read the book, read the book. If you hadn't seen the movie, you could see the movie. I would recommend just watching the alien abduction scene on YouTube, because the rest of the movie is kind of fucking boring. But that scene is great. That's a great scene.
That's like the scene.
All right, y'all. I finished my yogurt.
All right,
yeah.
So
I finished my yogurt, and now I am going to turn the lights out. However, I pulled up the stream and muted it so I could see it, and I do not see myself at all. So there I am. So I don't really see why it matters. Okay.
You'll pop up if you're
talking.
When you're talking. Skype does kind of an automatic switch there. And
okay,
it's not
cool.
The most intelligent situation, but
nah.
Let's
I'm
get
gonna
lights out.
Okay, hold on. Let me move my computer over to the wall because
lights out, motherfucker.
I'm scared even when it's light in this house. I've had some creepy shit happen, which I will tell you about. Like,
well, you gotta tell us about it.
I'm moving.
Should I play the X-Files theme while we get situated?
No, because the fucking YouTube's gonna be like, oh, copyright.
I'm setting up.
I don't know if it's copyrighted. Is it copyrighted? Are we gonna get hit?
It must be. I think it is, because unlike shows that make fun of it, they don't use the exact same. Okay, just do it. Just fucking do it. Just do it.
I'll mute it if it comes out on the other end and we can't use it. So I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna pour another drink.
Well, first Katie's gotta turn her light out, and then you play the music.
All right, it's coming on.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's cool. I'm right here with you, Katie. See? Your light is the best because it's blue. Mine's all white.
Oh, no! Stop it!
Hey,
All right.
Is everything all right?
Yeah,
All right.
All right.
So
welcome everyone to the Lights Out segment. This is where we sit down at the end of the night. Oh, it's creepy. It's 12:40 a.m. here on this beautiful Sunday morning. And so we like to turn out the lights, tell a couple creepy stories. This is one thing if you're a current viewer, a current audience member, or if you're watching us here in the future, I would like to say, please feel free to direct message me if you want to come on here and tell your own creepy story. Our production value is shit, but we'll figure out how to do it. We'll figure out how to get you on the Skype and get you here telling your story. We would love people to come join us here in the future for the creepy segment. So Katie's got the lights out. I went downstairs just to make sure. That's how big of an asshole I am.
Because he knows that I'm already afraid of the dark, especially like, I don't know, even if I'm not telling scary stories, I no. Especially in this house.
See, that was me.
Okay, but let me. Hey.
I'm already freaked out.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh damn, that was fucked up. I just realized what you did.
Yeah, I'm directly above her. Well, not directly above her head, but I'm pretty close. So,
okay.
For those at home, I stomped on the ground and scared Katie already. Katie, do you want to start us off? You got a story, Tyler? You want to start us off?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Katie should start it off because I was just gonna ask her, why are you so sure that the house you're in right now is haunted?
That would be a great part of the segment. We could talk about that. This very house that we're in right now, could be the Kukui house.
There's a lot of stories. Well, this house was built in like 1932, I believe. It was owned by the same family. The woman, okay, so her name was Wilma, the woman that my parents got the house from, and her dad like helped build it, and it stayed in her family until my parents bought it after she died. And apparently she always felt that it was haunted, like her son was killed, quote, in like the prime of his life, over like $3 in a Whataburger parking lot. And so she always thought that he was like here after, and like, I don't know, my mom's had creepy experiences here. I've had creepy experiences here. I've had several friends who've had creepy experiences here. I'll start with one that my mom told me. We used to have this like big sound system in the living room, and I was in the 7th grade. It was shortly after my great aunt Dorothy died, who was very, very close to us, who lived just down the street. So my mom like tries to like explain it off as being her. But I had gone to school. She had just finished dropping my brother off at school and was about to go to work. And she came home to like grab a few things. And she said that she pulled in the driveway or heard our speaker system just blaring music really, really loud. And it freaked her out. And so she thought that somebody had broken in. And so she comes inside, turns the music off. It's just like, hello, hello. And there's nothing, right? And so she walks from the front door through the living room into the dining room. And like our house was always really messy. Like it was always pretty cluttered. And so there was like a bunch of stuff piled up on the side table and a bunch of stuff piled up on the dining room table. And she said she walked to the end of the room, like turned to look upstairs and was like calling up the stairs, like, hello, is anyone here? And then papers on both the side table and the dining room table started just like flying off towards her. And she was just like, she grew up in rural Virginia and had experienced a lot of paranormal things in these like old Civil War houses with like blood stains still in the floors and shit. So she like kind of knows how to deal with it and just was like, hey, whoever you are, you need to get out of my house. You are not welcome here. Like you need to leave. And she said that it stopped, but she was really freaked out that day, right? And so she goes to work. She doesn't say anything to me about it. I come home from school at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm on the phone with like my best friend at the time. And I'm like sitting on the couch. Like I never even went upstairs. I'm like sitting on the couch downstairs, bullshitting, like seventh graders do on the phone. And I hear like a bunch of like crashing noises and it sounds like somebody stomping like across the floor upstairs. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And so, thinking that it was like one of my cats, we had 3 indoor cats. And so I was just like, think like, is it one of the cats? And I freak out and I like, assess the room real quick. And I see all 3 of them, like all 3 of them are accounted for. And I just hear like this like stomping. And so I was like, oh my God, somebody broke in. Once again, like my first thought, I run outside, I'm like, I have to call you back. And I like hang up and I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I think there's someone in the house. And she was like, why do you think that there's somebody in the house? And I was like, I just heard someone like things crashing and like stomping. And she was just like, oh, stay outside. I'll be home soon. Just hang out. Like, there's no one in the house. I'll tell you about it when I get home. So yeah, she came home and told me about it, and both of us were freaked the fuck out after that. Like, and I just had several other experiences. We like had experimented with Ouija boards and stuff when I was younger, and another one that like my brother also experienced. I'm pretty anal about leaving lights on. I used to be a little bit more anal. I need to get back to it, but I do not like leaving lights on when I'm not in the room because it's just like a waste of energy, and I love the planet. And so I've always been like that since I can remember. And so there was one night, like my mom went out, and it was just me and my brother were home, and I was like hanging out in my room doing something, and had my door closed. And the next thing I know, he just opens my door with this like panic look on his face, and he's like, Katie? And I was just like, what's going on? And he was like, I just heard you downstairs. And I was like, what? He was just like, I just heard your voice downstairs calling me, telling me to come here. And so he said he walked out of his room, saw that my light was on and the door was closed, and was like, wait, was she in her room? And so like that's why when he opened the door, he was so shocked to see me, because he said that he heard my voice downstairs, Zach, come here, and was just like, what the fuck? And so both of us like were like, oh my God. Whoa. And other shit,
creepy.
Man. I used to have horrible night terrors. I don't have them anymore because I don't sleep alone anymore. But I used to have horrible night terrors where I would like wake up in the middle of the night completely paralyzed, and like would hear like my door rattling and like footsteps coming towards me. I used to feel like when I couldn't move, like it was almost the same thing every time, where I would feel something sit on my bed and crawl across my bed towards me, and I like could never open my eyes or turn around to see what it was, but I could just feel it. And one time it actually, like, I felt it push down on me. I was laying on my stomach and I felt like somebody sit on my bed, kind of just like move closer to me, and then just like push down on my chest, and like it felt like they were trying to break my back. And like my mom used to always say it was my Aunt Dorothy and that she was mad at me for being, an asshole. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm super creeped out. I don't like it here.
Well, that's, it's interesting, and you've heard this story before. We'll reiterate it just real quick because we did tell it the other night. I think it was the last time we did this with Noe. Noe told the story that was very similar of when you and I stayed out one night, and I forget where we were, but it was when we were living at my mom's old house, and my brother was staying at home alone. And he said that he heard me while he was staying. He was watching Rosemary's Baby, which could put him in the realm of being primed for fear.
Yeah.
For those of you, for the audience who's never heard of being primed for fear, what that means is that our body and our mind has a very natural inclination. In the dark, in times of paranoia and scary kind of moments, our brain starts priming ourselves to be afraid. And it's good in an evolutionary
It makes sense.
manner. The more scared and the more paranoid you are in these dark, scary times, the more likely you are to be able to recognize a threat, or the more likely you are to be able to escape a threat. So he's watching Rosemary's Baby, but he claims he wasn't very scared by the movie, and he heard me come into the house, open the front door, I think he said, close the door, lock it, walk up the stairs. And our stairs, I to his credit, they have a very distinct sound to them. Every single one was creaky, and the third, and I knew this just because of how many times I had tried to sneak in and out of the house. The third and the 14th stair on the way up, or no, not the third and the seventh. That's what it was. The third and the seventh were incredibly creaky, and he heard the me walking up the stairs, the specific stairs creaking, and then he said he heard the very distinct and noticeable baritone nature of my voice talking upstairs in the room, and then you and I came home the next morning. We came home from whatever party we were currently at or whatnot, and he was blown away and kind of terrified when I got home, because he was like, dude, wait, did you stay here last night?
Nope.
No, I didn't stay here. And he was just like, what the fuck, man? I swear to God, I heard you come home. I heard you go up the stairs. I heard you talking upstairs. Just the whole 9 yards. And so yeah, very similar kind of experience.
It's what's interesting is that room. I also heard that little girl laugh when I was meditating. A totally separate account. And
At Tucker's house?
Yeah, I haven't told you that story, Katie.
No.
It was yeah, dude. This is one of the most intense ghosts. Like I've actually kind of blocked it out of my head because of how fucking freaky it was. And the only reason I remembered is because last night's episode, Noe was watching our video, and he basically sent a message just to tell Tucker he thought he heard a girl laugh on Tucker's end of the fucking podcast. And so I started tearing up. I just started tearing up, and I go, holy shit. No. This is a true story. I go, holy shit. Noe, I don't mean to freak you out, because he wasn't listening at that point, but I thought he was. I go, I don't mean to freak you out, Noe, but this reminds me of when I was in y'all's old house, and I was in Tucker's room, the attic room, and I was all alone, and I was meditating, and I was staring at a candle, and I was trying to get the flame to move around with my psychic powers, and I just started finding this like point of focus, and everything was quiet, and this behind my shoulder, like immediately behind my shoulder, I heard, haha, and I was just like, oh, like it was just one of those, just everything told me not to turn around, dude. Like I did not, for a very long time, I did not turn around, and I was just sitting there like, what the fuck do you do? What do you do? Because the laugh came from where the only entrance and exit to that room was, except for the motherfucking attic window. So it's like, unless I was jumping out the attic window, I had to turn around. And it was just, there was just that moment of being like, every hair on my neck stood up, and I just knew, like out of, it's like you want the supernatural to happen or whatever. You want aliens, you want to meet aliens, and you want to meet ghosts, but not when you're actually abducted by an alien, and not when you're hearing a little dead girl fucking laugh behind your back.
There's I'll be honest with you, man. There is sincere jealousy on my part that you've heard that, because like you heard a little girl laugh in my room. And my brother the other night heard a little girl laugh through the audio coming through my microphone. And I've heard nothing. I hear nothing.
It's like because we are primed for fear, ghosts fuck with us. And then
am I psychically retarded? Is that what it is? Am I like...
Dude...
Have I closed myself off? Did all my dwellings with Satan, did that block my third eye from being able to see the ghosts, or what?
Well, I mean, if anything, I made a deal with vampires, and then I started having weird shit happen to me. So I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. There was also times where, like, after I met a couple people I thought were vampires. It's a whole other story. Where, like, weeks later, I told Noe, and no one else is in your house in that same attic room. And, like, minutes after I told Noe, I got a call from one of them, and they were like, we know, one of my friends told me. And I'm just like, no, this isn't funny. Y'all are stalking me. That's fucked up. Yeah, exactly. It was super creepy, dude.
Do you think, Tyler, you know the Trey bus story, right? You know the my creepy encounter with a potentially psychopathic weird kid when I was a teenager?
Maybe.
I think the first podcast we ever recorded, I told that story.
Oh, I think that's why I remember Trey
Do you
Bus.
think
The
that would
kid
be
with the
fitting?
knives.
Yeah. Do you think that would be fitting for this
No,
cast?
it's not paranormal. But it
It
Well,
is
isn't
creepy
paranormal.
because people are creepy. Dude,
It is
I've had some
creepy.
creepy. Okay, can I tell a creepy story about a person?
Yeah.
only
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I was a kid, right? Like I was like in middle school and I had some friends over after school and we're all standing in the dining room and I had my friend Lucy over and Lucy like had been to Europe a lot and like I had like some like European chocolate on the table and like I remember like having the dining room windows open. She like sees the chocolate was like, "Ah, you have this chocolate." And then like looks at the window and screams like, "Ah!" And we just like we're like, wait, what? And we all look up just in time to see someone duck. Like someone was like looking in the window and we were like, who was it? What did you see? And she was like, I don't know who it was. And so like I like grab a kitchen knife and like walk into the backyard and I was just like, hello. And like the dog, my dog outside was like barking at the gate and I was like, who's here? And we open up the gate and there's like no one there. We don't know who it was. Like later some friends came over and like we're like, hey, you know, did you like we came over and like knocked on the door and you didn't answer, so we knocked on the window. And I was like, oh, did y'all hear a scream? And like, did you hear me come outside with a knife? And they were like, what? No. And so it was like these two different occasions, but I was like, did you see anyone leaving my house? And they're like, no. But like, yeah, there was apparently someone like sitting outside of our window, just like watching us, like watching a bunch of like middle school girls
creepy,
from the driveway.
creepy as
Yeah,
shit.
we were so creeped out. Like my mom was pretty freaked out too. It was weird.
Yeah, that's a creepy happening, man. I don't know. I don't know. I'll go ahead and tell the story. It's not too long of a story, but it is a creepy one. It's something that happened in my own life. Um, me and a couple of friends of mine when I was probably about 15 or so years old, we hung out with this. We would skip school together and we'd go smoke pot and have fun outside of school and high school together. And there was this weird kid that we would kind of hang out with occasionally named Trey, and he was like one of those like big fat lumbering but like kind of soft spoken guys. And Trey was he always had some kind of weird input into stories, and he would like always kind of take things into this more dark kind of territory. But one time we went to hang out with him, or we skipped school together, and he said that he was like, well, I've got. He was like, my mom's not home. We can go over to my house. So we went and visited his place, and we're kind of hanging out and we're having fun. And we go into his room, and as we're hanging out in his room, we hear this kind of noise like jingling of keys, whatever. And he, all of a sudden, he's like, oh shit, my mom's home. Get in the closet. And so we get in the closet and we're like, because we're teenagers, we're like, fuck, well, we'll sympathize. We'll hide in the closet to make sure that we don't all get busted by someone's mom. And we go in the closet and we're sitting there in the dark. And we're sitting there and some time passes. Things, we're not really talking because we don't want to get busted if we're being kind of as quiet as possible. And we're sitting there for what seems like to be a long time, and eventually, I kind of check my phone in my pocket, and I realize like we've been sitting in here for like 20 some odd minutes, and so I start whispering, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What is this? What's happening? And we're talking, we're like, yeah, it's just should we just kind of like walk? Should we get out of here? The 30-minute mark hits, and I think like, okay, it's time to leave. Let's. I don't give a fuck if we get busted by his parents. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I'm bored, man. At this point, it's about sheer boredom. I've been sitting in a closet for half an hour in the dark, not saying anything. When you're 15, that's like a millennia of boredom. So I go to the door and I go to open it, and it's fucking locked. The door is locked. And
Hell no.
Immediately, that was what, I kind of turned to my friends that are, these two girls I'm hanging out with. And I'm like, what is going on? The door's locked. And we kind of turn to each other and we're talking. We're like, well, let's wait. Let's wait a couple more minutes. So we wait another 10 minutes. And eventually I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kick this fucking door open. I've never kicked a door open in my life, but I'm gonna try. At least make a bunch of noise to get out of there. And before I go kicking the door open, I go to open it again, and it's unlocked. The knob turns, the door opens, and the first thing I see is Trey sitting there, and he's just laughing. He's fucking laughing his ass off. And at that point, it dawns on me, oh, this guy's fucking with us. What a piece of shit. What an asshole. That was my first thought. I was like, you fucking dick. You just locked us in a closet for 40 minutes. That's not funny. That's fucking weird. And then I notice, and I think we all kind of notice, me and the rest of the party that I'm with, that he has what seems to be a massive collection of knives that are all flipped open or open in some sort and just laid out in assortment on his desk. And I'm talking like probably 20, maybe more knives, all open, sitting on the desk. And it's one of those moments in your life where you hit fight or flight, and it just clicked in my head immediately. I grabbed the girl's hands that I'm with, and we don't even have to say anything. We all, in immediate reaction, go, we gotta get the fuck out of here. So we just walk out and, immediately walk to the front door. The front door's locked as well, but we can unlock that shit. Unlock it, open it up. We walk out the front door, and we start walking faster and faster away from his apartment. And he peeks out, and I swear to God, man, straight out of a Halloween movie, he starts walking after us, trying to catch up. And he's like, hey, guys, wait. And we at that point, just go full sprint, hauling ass away from him, just fucking running as fast as we could. And needless to say, that's the last time we ever hung out with old Travis. That's the last time we hung out with the weird creature Trey. And we have, I've told that story quite a few times and gone through it. It was such a weird moment because even at 15, I was a horror movie aficionado. That's something that I was really deep into. So seeing all those knives open, even if it's all a joke, what goes into the twisted thought process of someone's mind to be like, I'm gonna lock you in a closet for close to an hour as a prank, and then when you come out, extra funny, to sashay a little extra funny on this prank scenario, I'm gonna have a bunch of open knives. And even if it's all a joke, it's like, is the joke in your mind that you were gonna, hey, I was gonna stab you to death? That's funny. That's funny, right?
Can I just say that while you've been telling the story, well, our dog, we have a black lab, and all the time this little puppy right here will lay on her and she'll growl, but Moon was not even laying on her, and she's just sitting here growling, and had a couple of times it's gone, bah, bah, and it's just I'm scared. I want to turn the lights on.
Shit's getting spooky. Shit's getting spooky.
Oh man, this reminds me. There's been a couple of times where I felt like there was a kukui outside of my window that was watching me. And there's a couple of stories I have that are legit. One was a lot more recent in my old house. My roommate, who was already an anxious wreck, he and I like to hang out and smoke weed sometimes. And so we're hanging out and smoking weed. And I see this reflection in the window, which later you look at the smudge and it looked a lot like an alien face, right? So there's a smudge in the window that I know is a smudge.
Dog's growling again. Sorry.
And it looks like an alien's face, but I know it's a smudge. But I still felt like it was an alien's face. So the whole time I'm talking to Austin, and I start opening my book of crazy conspiracy notes up, and I'm like, and in this year the alien, when they found the alien ship and they reverse engineered it, this led to this, which then led to this because this happened, and then they disclosed this. And then I just basically concluded it, and then all of a sudden it was just this really weird vibe hit the air. And I just felt like we were being watched through his window because we didn't have blinds in his room. And I saw that reflection, and I just my face went white apparently because he saw me and he was just got mad and was like, "No, hey, no, what do you see? What?" And so we basically ended up kind of like going out into the backyard and out into the front yard and just like standing in certain places because we felt like there was like weird presences there. And so we basically went out to the backyard to see the other side of his window to make sure nothing was watching through his window, and it seemed surprisingly dark by his window, despite the fact that the porch light was shining directly at the same location. It just seemed like there was a blob of shadow kind of next to his window, and then we went out to the front, and it was like dead silent, and there's one lamppost on in this cul-de-sac, and I just was like, it feels like we're about to be abducted right now. It just felt like we were about to be motherfucking abducted by aliens. And we didn't see anything officially, but it was one of those times where like the hype, the priming of the fear was so real that it really felt like there was just like this malevolent presence, this like dark force just kind of like looking over us. And it only happened to me once more when I was younger, where I thought I saw something watching me through the window outside, and I was trying to tell my dad about it, and he was so frustrated that he was like, he thought I was making it up too, so he's like, "I'm going to put you outside with that thing." And I was just like, "No!
I'm going to feed you to the gagooey.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But,
Tyler, do you remember that time where I went totally white-faced at your house, at your grandparents' house that one summer?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, if you'd like to kind of fill the audience in on, I've told a few stories about my grandparents' house being haunted and the hallway, but I would love for you to tell your perception on that.
So, I remember being at your grandparents' house. Your grandparents' house was pretty fucking creepy, right? Like, for the people watching who don't know, like, hey, we always had like this like really weird feeling about this hallway. It was this like long hallway. All the rooms were connected to it. It was dark. There were no windows. And like I remember like I had some dreams about it. And like it just like it always creeped me out. Like I would practically like anytime I was over there and I had to use the restroom at night, even sometimes during the day, I would like run through the hallway so I could spend less time there, right?
I used to do that when I was a little kid. I'm sorry to interrupt
I always
you.
felt like there was something chasing me. It's like when you're a little kid and like you're like going up the stairs and you just imagine something behind you like closing in and you like run and like close the door and like put your back up against the wall and there's nothing there, but like it's just that feeling, right? That I got that feeling in that hallway, regardless of what time of day it was, regardless of how bright it was, regardless of how many people were there. Like there could have been 30 people in the living room during a house party, and if I was in that hallway, I was still like, oh my God, I need to get the fuck out of this hallway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm sitting on a couch, like, you know, hanging out. Like I think I was talking to our friend Nick, and I'm like looking at Nick, who he has his back to the hallway. And so like by looking at him, I'm like kind of looking past him, right? And I kind of got this like very heavy, like weird feeling. And then I saw a cat, like straight up a fucking cat, like a black cat, walk out of the sewing room, rub up against a wall, walk across the hallway like cats do with his tail in the air and the end of the fucking tail twitching, just walks across the hallway and then walks into the guest room. And like I saw it and I heard it. Like I heard its paws on the floor, and I just
heard
like
it too. I didn't
like
see it,
I was
but
just
I heard
like
it.
because I was kind of shocked for a minute, and I was just like, there's a fucking cat here, because there was no cat that lived in that house, right? And at first I was like, I think a cat got in, but when I realized like there's no cat, and I like look over, you know, and see Tyler's dog there, because I was like, well, maybe it's the dog, but Luke was just laying there. And then I was just like, oh my God, I'm so like, I got this really creepy feeling. And everyone was like, what's wrong? Like, you just went white. Like, you just went super white. And I was like, I just saw a fucking cat. Like, there's cat in that room. And there was no cat. Like, there was nothing there. And like, I know for a fucking fact that I saw it. Because like, I saw a fucking cat. And it like, because I like my brain was trying to process it. Like, I stared at it the whole time. Like I watched a cat walk out, rub up against the doorway, and like walk, like meander his way into the other room. And like it was so creepy and so weird. And like I don't know what the fuck, like why why that would be haunted by a cat, or like what would like manifest itself as a cat, like some like
Yeah,
looking ass or something.
it's creepy as fuck because the weirdest part about it is I didn't see the cat, and I was actually one of the guys that was facing Katie at the time. So Nick and I are sitting next to each other, and I said, "Let's play the quiet game." I was like being an asshole. I was joking around, and I was like, "I know. Why don't we play the
Oh, it
quiet
was
game?"
late. It was late, and I'm pretty sure that we were talking about like trying to get to sleep soon or some shit.
No, it was midday. It was like right
Was
before
it?
evening. It was right before sundown. Yeah, because I remember because it was like a gray day. It was one of those
Oh,
rainy
okay.
days because it was like a week worth of
Because it was
nothing
kind of
happening
dark
at that
inside.
point.
I remember it being kind of
Uh-huh.
dark.
It
Yeah.
was. It was gray and the sun wasn't out. And then I heard the nails of this cat going across the wooden hallway floors, and I didn't see it, but I saw your face go white. And then but because usually Luke's nails make the same noise, my reaction was it's probably Luke. But then you and I look and saw that Luke was laying right next to us, and then you were
It's
like,
so
"I saw a
weird.
cat." And I just had to believe you because I heard the nails. Like I didn't see the cat, but I heard the fucking nails tapping, tapping, tapping against the floor.
It was so fucking creepy. Dude, I used to, yeah, that hallway used to creep me out. Like, I remember having a dream one time that actually was one of my sleep paralysis dreams. But I had a dream where, like, I was, like, in your grandparents' house, like, and I was walking on the hallway, and I, like, walked past the guest room and looked in, and there was, like, this, like, girl and, like, a dress, but she's looking out the window. I never saw her face, but she was just, like, staring out the window. And I kept walking, and and then I stopped in your doorway for your room, which was right next to the bathroom, right, or next to the guest room. It was closer to the end of the hall, but I remember stopping and like looking into your room, and one of my mom's dogs was like a chihuahua, was like sitting on the bed, and I was like, hey Lars, and like I went to pet him, but I noticed that his eyes were all yellowed out, like they were like completely yellow, and I was just like, Lars, are you okay? And it was like once I started to realize that like there was something off about him, he just started to like grow, and like his fur like retracted into him, and it was like this like gray, like dead scaly skin, and it was like this like creature, and it jumped out of the window, and like because it like I guess I was onto it, and those creatures used to reappear in my dreams. That was like different shapes, and if I ever like after that, that was I think that was the first appearance of like the yellow eyes in my dream. But like after that, whenever I
Reptilians.
would have a dream of like an entity with yellow eyes, if I started to realize that it had yellow eyes, like my dream would start to like disintegrate, and like I would wake up in my bed paralyzed, and like I used to always sleep with my on my stomach, and so like always whenever I'd have like a yellow eye dream, I would like wake up paralyzed and like hear the shit coming into my room and like sitting on my bed, and like the
So
shit used to be
does the Shadow King in Legion exceptionally freak you out?
everything
The
freaks me
yellow-eyed
out.
monster.
Everything freaks me out. But yes, he's exceptionally creepy. The thing that kind of makes me laugh is that he's got this enormous double chin, and so like I try to like in my mind be like, ah, like it's just a fat demon, but like it's a demon and it's got yellow eyes and it creeps me out. And
And it
that just like
smiles and it walks towards you.
no
That's
fuck
about.
no.
Okay, so we've gotten some good creepy in. I want to thank Katie for the stories.
Can I turn the light on yet?
No, not yet. We've got. I'm gonna because the last part of Lights Out Theater is that I'm gonna read a story from No Sleep, and
No,
we're gonna
let's
enjoy
turn our
a
light
little.
on. Okay. Can I turn
Or
the
get
video
out
off
of the
and turn the light on
chat.
because I'm freaked?
Get out
No,
of the chat, Katie.
absolutely not. You can turn your camera off, but
Ma.
that's about it.
Duck
Um,
man.
Turning the
Oh.
all
camera
right,
off.
all right. Tyler, go ahead and talk so your camera takes over.
Hello, my camera takes over. I am
There it
Duck
is.
Man. Duck
All right.
Man.
So I'm gonna read a piece off of No Sleep. This is a subreddit on Reddit, and it is if you're not in the know, it's a subreddit dedicated to telling creepy stories. And the one rule is that we don't discuss these stories inside or outside of the reality that they are true. So the story I'm going to read tonight is called I'm a 9/11 Operator, Just Had the Most Terrifying Call. This is by a user named Higgs Thunder. I'm going to give you a shout out. You were awarded some gold for this story. So we're gonna run through this. I'm going to read it out loud, and that'll conclude our lights out segment here. 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, hi, this is gonna sound kind of strange, but there's a man stumbling around in circles in my front yard. Could you repeat that, sir? He looks sick or lost or drunk or something. I just woke up to get a glass of water and heard snow crunching around underneath my front window, so I peeked out. I'm looking at him now. He's about 10 yards away from my window. Something's not right. What's your address, sir? 1617 Quarry Lane in Pinella Pass. I'm gonna send a squad car your way, but that's quite a ways out. Are you alone in the house, sir? Yeah, I'm alone. Can you confirm that all your doors and windows are locked? Stay on the phone with me. I know that my front is definitely locked, but I'll go check my back door again real quick. I appreciate your help, by the way. I know this is kind of strange, but I really don't hope that... Sir? Are you there? He's still in the yard. But what the fuck? He's upside down. Sir, stay on with me. What's happening? He's staring right at me, but he's standing on his hands now. He's perfectly still, staring straight at me. He's doing a handstand and he's smiling at me. He's not moving. Sir? What's happening? A handstand? I don't know how he's facing me and standing on his hands. He's got this huge smile. He's perfectly still. What the fuck? Please get someone out here now. Sir, I need you to remain calm. I've put the call out and an officer is on his way. His teeth they're so huge. What the fuck? Please help me, man. Sir, I want you to try and keep an eye on him, but make sure he's at your back door is locked again. We need to make sure all your possible access points are secured. Can you talk to me and confirm that your back door is locked? Okay. I'm walking to the back. I'm walking backwards now. I'm keeping him in my sight. My hand's on the doorknob now. It's locked. I need to check the deadbolts. I'm going to take my eyes off of him for a split second. All right, sir. Help is on the way. Just stay on the phone with me. Everything's going to be all right. Sir? Sir, are you still there? His face. It's up against the glass. Sir, I need you to speak up. What's happening? I looked away for a split second. His face, it's pressed up against my front window. His teeth are huge. He's still smiling. There's no color in his eyes. Jesus, please help me. Why won't it just fucking move? Sir, I need you to be in the nearest room. Lock yourself inside of it. Do you have a basement or a bedroom that you can lock yourself in? He won't stop staring. He's gonna hurt me. Sir, I need you to listen to me. Lock yourself somewhere safe until an officer arrives at your house. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm gonna lock myself in my room. And you're positive you're alone in your house, correct? Yes, I'm alone in the house. Wait a moment. He's moving. He's shaking his head. He's telling me no. He can hear us. He's telling me I'm not alone. Sir, are you still there? I hear a loud noise at this point. Is everything all right? Sir? And that's the end.
No. Hell
That's a
no.
pretty good story. That's pretty good, man.
No. Hell to the no.
Thank you again to Higgs Thunder, man. I enjoyed reading that. That was fun. That was a good one.
Yeah,
I think Katie was sufficiently creeped out.
I've been super creeped out, but I also turned the light on and just turned my video off. So.
All right. Well, I guess that brings it into the lights out segment of the show. Let's we can go lights back up. You know what? I'm gonna keep my lights off, but Katie.
No, don't keep the light off. Turn the lights on. This house is a scary house. It's an old house and it's a scary house and there's scary things and no and the no and the no.
Well, I don't know, guys. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the story. I don't know if anyone has anything else specifically they want to share. I think that was
Oh, hey, look, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo has been smiling upside down behind me, staring at me this whole time.
Da-na-na-na.
Like he's winking at me.
Dun, dun. Well, I think any scary shit that I wanted to keep going with, we can always do the next night, if you think.
Absolutely, man. We've hit the 2 hour mark, a little past the 2 hour mark, so it's 1:20 a.m. where we're at. We started the show significantly later than we had anticipated, but I know that I'm gonna do my best to try and up the production value. I want to get us on the ability to be able to share audio, to share video. If you're out there and you're watching and you have a clue how to do this, where I'm not required to pay money for it, let me know. We'd love to hear that information.
Can't we just Google it?
Oh, I googled the shit out of it. That's why we were so late. Me and Lantern Lantern was just watching me have a frustrated mental breakdown on not being able to properly run the stream. But
it's true. I was watching the whole thing happen. I was watching it unfold. But he was just like, God damn it. He was saying some pretty terrible things to the computer, actually.
I think a lot of it involved sex and mostly AIDS and farts.
That was actually pretty accurate summarization.
The angrier I get, the more I talk about farting and the more I talk about AIDS.
Yeah, he talks about AIDS a lot when he's mad. It's kind of weird.
Uh-oh. What was that noise?
I don't know. I think that was my wall.
Oh, no. Why do you guys like to scare me? I'm easily scared. I can't even watch horror movies. That shit's too real.
Tucker, did you knock on my wall with your powers?
That's what I did. I stomped my foot against my wall and I transferred it over to Austin. To Austin with love. Well, I think that's all we've got for the night, guys. Thank you for joining us for the old late night creepy cast. We'll be back on when we can. I don't know. Do you guys want to? We might take a break on Sunday. We might still be able to do a morning cast or something like that. We're gonna try and figure out a schedule that's a little more legitimate, so we can stay on track and people can kind of expect or anticipate when the shows will be starting.
Yeah, I just want to point out that we're trying to be as consistent as we can, despite having real life, happening to us constantly. But at the same time, if anybody that has been trying to keep up with us, hopefully none of y'all feel faked out because we're trying to consistently put out as much material as possible. We actually have a lot of my friends and your friends are going, holy shit, you guys are putting a lot of time out, like in 1 week, hours and hours of time. So,
I think we're all real serious about this. It's something we want to do and something we've had a passion for a while, and we really are. I'm excited about it, and I want to do as many of these as possible, and we'll figure our way out as we go down the road. But for now we're just we're piecing things together, and I've noticed we've had at least 1 or 2 people subscribing over the past few days. Just a quick shout out. I mean, I don't know if you've made it to the end of this video. I'll probably mention it again in the future, but thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, for being at the very ground level, joining us with this. The most important thing I can say is that I want some feedback. I would love to have people, if you're the slightest bit interested in joining a Skype chat, if you've got a silly ghost story or alien story you want to tell to us live on the air, I would love that, man. That's really what it's about. We want to have as many people on this cast as possible. I know I've said it before, but I'll keep saying it. We're growing, we're having fun, and we want the audience to be a part of the show. So that's
absolutely. I just want to point out that even if you don't necessarily want to directly be part of the show, if you just like to send in your 2 cents, let us as the the makers of the show know which direction you'd like it to go. That way, if there's any points in the show that you're more interested in than others, and you let us know, we'll do more of that. Because right now we're just trying out these different topics, and we're also trying to stay current with actual news in the mornings, and then getting it into the creepier sort of sci-fi horror genres at night. So what, any feedback, like the Disillusionist was saying, please send it to him. We're all going to hear about it, and we're all going to do everything in our power to make the show as smooth and badass as possible.
Yeah, man, and your feedback will really, at this point, I mean, if you subscribed, if you're enjoying what's going on, your feedback will dictate kind of how we run this in the future. We're probably going to I imagine in the future, the morning show will kind of consistently stay as news and, staying topical and maybe having some guests on that can only kind of join us in the morning. And the night show, we might start, doing like Fridays will be specifically spooky nights, maybe do movie reviews or TV reviews and discussion on another day. But whatever you like, let us know, because that's what we'll prioritize.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. We hope you come back. I'm gonna start seeing if I can't use YouTube to give a little more awareness to when these live streams are gonna start. But we love the hell out of you guys. Subscribe, like, share the videos if you enjoy them, and y'all have a good night. We really appreciate it.
We love you.
We love you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
That I need to play to reverse time. What? I can't, okay. But I got to save the planet from the shadow. The secret battle, I got a opponent. Now where's my